Hi, everyone. Welcome to my new podcast called Dance Journey. Maybe it's not new anymore. This is the third episode, so we're in it now. But anyway, my podcast, Dance Journey, where I want to share my journey with dance, what got me into dance, my past experience with dance, why I like it so much, and I want to interview other dancers about their dance journey. So that's what the podcast is about. Right now, we're in the third episode. The first episode, I talked about my childhood experience with dance. The second episode, I talked about what got me to move to LA from Chicago, which was mostly for acting because I was pursuing acting. And now I am in LA. The last episode, we ended on how I had an audition for a musical for Annie. And there was a movement audition, and I did terrible, and I realized I need to start taking dance classes. Again, I'm not thinking about pursuing dance. I'm there for acting, but I do like dance, and it's good to know how to dance when you're doing acting or trying to do theater or something. So I just thought I should probably start taking dance classes because I used to think I could dance, and now I'm realizing I don't know anything. So fortunately, I had a myriad, is that the right word, of roommates. I had a lot of different roommates in LA, and one of my first roommates was a dancer. She was a tap dancer, and she took class at Edge Performing Arts Center, rest in peace. Um, and she told me about Edge and was like, "You should take dance class at Edge. It's a really good dance studio." And I was like, "Okay." So I looked into it, found a jazz class because jazz is what I felt like I had the most experience with since I was young, which again was a very small amount, but I took a little bit of jazz as a kid. Um, so yeah, found a jazz class, Jazz One. It was called Jazz One, and I went to it. I think it was a Saturday morning. Showed up. It was the old Edge building, so not the most recent one, but the one before that, where you had to go to like a little elevator, and I think you had to go up like a bunch of floors to get to the Edge floor. Um, and I just remember waiting outside of that classroom and with other dancers. We were all sitting on the floor, and everybody was talking about how they hadn't danced in so long. And a lot of them, it seemed like they hadn't taken that class before. It was a few of us sitting out there. And they were asking each other about the class or like saying they hadn't danced in a long time and they were like nervous about it. And I was like, oh, good. I fit right in. Like they haven't danced in a long time. I haven't danced in a long time. And this is the right class for me. So I went into the Jazz One class. I don't remember exactly who the teacher was. I have an idea of who it might have been. But, anyways, a jazz class that's an hour and a half long. Half of the class is usually like a warm up and stretch if it's a really good jazz class. And that's what we did for a while. And I was like, okay, this is a good warm up. I'm like an in shape person. I work out. So I was able to kind of like do the warm up okay and follow along with everything. And I was enjoying the class. And then when they started teaching the combination, it felt like I was right back in that musical theater audition where she was teaching it so fast and everyone was picking it up really fast. Even those girls that were in the hallway with me that were like, I haven't danced in forever, they were picking it up super fast too. And I was the only one that had no idea what was going on. And I'm in the back row, just like a mess, trying not to bang into anybody. And it was a little disheartening, but I just remember like, well, first I remember thinking, okay, this class is not for people that have little dance experience. It's for people that are very good dancers that maybe haven't danced in a few years and are back trying to get back into it. So I talked to the teacher after the class because I was just like embarrassed and like I was just like, it's my first time. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, and she was like, well, if you just keep coming, you'll get better. And she was actually like very nice to me and didn't act like I shouldn't be there or anything, which was very nice of her. But I do remember going to the front desk after that and just being like, do you have a jazz class that's like more beginner than Jazz One? And they were like, yeah, there's a basic jazz and a beginner jazz. I think. I don't remember if there was a, but basically the way that Edge works is there's basic and then there's beginner and then there's level 1, level 2 and so on. So I was like, oh, so Jazz One is not the first level. Okay, good to know. So after that, I did find a basic jazz class, and I believe that was with Chelsea Mishner, who became a very important dance teacher in my life. So found that class. Also, I think I started taking the basic tap class with Johnny Hobbs because my roommate knew him and knew about that class and had told me about that class. So I was taking basic jazz and basic tap every so often. Again, I wasn't taking anything like super seriously. I just like in a really regular way because again, I was there for acting. I wasn't trying to become like a super good dancer. I just like wanted to grow at it. I did enjoy it. And it was cool that those classes were available to me. So I finally found classes that I was like, okay, I still wasn't very good at the basic jazz class, but I was good and I could keep up enough. Like it seemed like it was more for like actual beginners. So that was really nice to experience that. I feel like I have to look at my notes. Guys, I'm going to have to look at my notes this time because my life path it's confusing. I lived it and it's confusing for me. So, okay, yeah. And then the other thing, so I went to various churches when I lived in LA, but for a while I was going to a church called Oasis Church in Koreatown, which is a really cool church and very like vibrant and expressive and a lot of people in the arts that go there. And they actually had a really good dance team that I loved watching. I never really thought I could ever be in that dance team, on that dance team. I don't even think that was necessarily a goal. I just like thought that they were really cool and good. Um, and they did one free dance class a week, which was run by Leslie Scott, who I believe she does not live in LA anymore, but I think that she taught at Edge as well as Millennium. But then she also went to Oasis Church and gave a free dance class once a week on like Wednesdays or something. And I just went to it because I didn't have a lot of money pursuing acting in LA. And I moved to LA with very little money, which again, in my book, I'm going to go through all the ways that God provided for me when I had like nothing. It was a crazy, crazy time of like building my faith. But anyways, yeah, I had very little money and I wanted to take dance. So it was this free class at the church. I was like, well, I'm going to go because it's free. But let me tell you, it was a very advanced hip hop class. Um, I don't know if I went to it today, if I would think it was advanced. I'm not sure. But when I went to it back then, I definitely thought it was super advanced. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, these dancers are like really good. And I don't have a clue. I don't know what's going on, but I still really liked it. And I would go and I could usually get the first 1 or 2 8 counts. And after that, my brain was like, I don't know what's going on anymore. But I would try my best. I usually would stand sort of towards the back, and there's like a lot of people in the room. It was kind of hard to see, but like I just didn't know what was going on, so I didn't want to be like in the front or anything. Um, but yeah, I still loved it. I still went to it. I went to it most every week, but I was just kind of quiet, did my best, and then looked like a fool for most of it, but I still kept going. Um, and then my grandpa passed away, which was a sad time, but he also left me some money that I did not know was coming. And I ended up being able to kind of like work a little bit less and focus on more acting stuff, like taking acting classes, trying to get auditions. I also was focusing on writing, which I love to do. And then I was also taking some extra dance classes with that money. So I remember I learned about Your Neighborhood Studio, which later became Dance Line and later also became extinct. But Your Neighborhood Studio, YNS, in Culver City, I started taking a hip hop class there by Wilson Williams. I have to say his name like that because there's like a dash in it. It's like Will dash Son Williams. He taught hip hop there. I thought it was a hard hip hop class. I remember when I first went, I was asking someone in the class about it, and I'm pretty sure she was like, this class is really hard. It's really advanced. And I remember thinking, it is really advanced. But really, now, if I were to go to that, I think it's very much like a hip hop fitness type class. But it was hard for me. It was a challenge for me at the time. And the way that Wilson Williams taught, I actually really liked it. He would um, teach a new dance every time, but he wouldn't like talk that much. He would just kind of play music. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, he would just play music and like show us the next moves. And just like keep teaching it till we were like catching on, and then he would show us the next move, but it was all like with the music playing. And then once we had the dance down, he would use one song a bunch, but then he would do a different song and we would do the dance to that song. And so obviously the counts were pretty basic if we were doing it to like any song. But it was really fun. I thought that class was I really enjoyed it. And he did used to like take videos of the whole class at the end sometimes. And I was getting better in that class. I remember one time he was like, "Everyone, watch how Tracy does it. Watch how Tracy does it," which is so funny to me now because I'm like, I don't know if there will ever be a class where the teacher now is like, "Watch how Tracy does it." I feel like I am definitely not the best one in any of my classes right now. But he pointed me out because I was getting one of the parts good. And I generally had gotten pretty good in his class. And I remember he took a video one time, and as soon as he started the video, I just completely forgot the first part of the dance, which I feel like we're not. Are we surprised? No, because I still do that sometimes. But I remember I forgot the first part of the dance, and he kind of looked at me and was like, "What's going on?" And then he like started it over, and I felt like embarrassed, but it was kind of funny too. And then I remember another time I was taking that class, and he had us do cartwheels. Like, it was sort of a hip hop fitness class, but then he put like a cartwheel in the combo one time, which I'm like, my teachers now don't put cartwheels in their combos. It's also maybe just kind of weird to put a cartwheel in a combo, but which I can do a cartwheel, but he put it on my bad side, like my right side, and I'm like a lefty in gymnastics. So I remember I looked like a 4-year-old trying to do that cartwheel. It looked so bad, and I still look like a 4. Well, I'm a little bit better at doing cartwheels on my bad side because we do that at gymnastics sometimes, but yeah, it was pretty bad, and it was just making me laugh so hard. I just really enjoyed that class. Um so yeah. Oh yeah. Then I had this extra money. It lasted me like about a year. And I'm not taking you through every step of every single thing that happened in my life because we don't have time for that. But basically, at that point, I was living in this really awesome house. I always get these situations where I get these rent deals in these awesome houses, which praise God, he blesses me a lot with rent situations. But I was living with my roommate and our other friend. Well, they're both my roommates, but my really good friend Beth and our roommate Amy, who we were also friends with, but I wasn't as close with her. Anyways, we were living in Beth's parents' house while they were living in Tennessee. Does this sound familiar? I just get these situations where parents are giving their children good deals, and then I just become a part of that good deal, which is awesome. We were paying such little rent for this amazing house in El Segundo. It actually had a house behind it, like a little guest house behind it that nobody was in, that we could have people like come over sometimes and like stay in our guest house. I'm like, how amazing was that when I barely had any money? I mean, I had some extra money, but like I wasn't really working regularly. I didn't really have income coming in. So, anyway, we were living there and life was good. Acting, I was getting a little bit more moving forward with acting a little bit. So, I actually got into a web series that was SAG. I got cast. So, I was non union, but they wanted me for a SAG role in a web series. And so, I got this thing called I got Taft Heart Lead, which means that this company did the paperwork for me to like be able to join SAG so I could have this role in their web series. So that's very exciting to finally be able to join SAG. There's various reasons why you might want to join right away or you might want to wait. I decided to join right away and I had enough money to like pay the fee to join. And at the time it was like right before or right after. It must have been right after SAG and AFTRA like merged. So it kind of worked out because I was able to like join both right away and the fee was like less than it would have been if I had waited. So I was really happy about that, but it was sort of the end of the money that I had and I wasn't planning on using all that up so quickly at the end, but like I wanted to join SAG, so I kind of used it and was just like, okay, I'm going to have to get a job like right away. But then our house that we had lived at for like 8 months, my friend's parents like sold it out of nowhere. They had been trying to sell it, but it wasn't selling. And we thought it was going to be years. Like her parents thought it was still going to be years. And then they actually were trying to sell it while they were in Tennessee, but they were realizing they couldn't sell it from far away. It like wasn't working well. So they're like, we're going to actually come back to California and live in the house to sell it, but you guys can live in the back house, the guest house, and have it like for even cheaper. And so I was like, oh, great. I mean, it was nice having the whole house, but hey, to have even cheaper rent and live in the back house, that'll be great. But then they put it back on the market, and before they even moved back, it totally sold in like a week or something. It was really unexpected. And I was like, oh, shoot. So I didn't know what to do because I really had to find a good job like very quickly. And the only idea I had for some reason was, well, I had this idea to contact the director of this children's camp that I was an intern for the summer before my senior year of college. I was the marketing intern for this camp. I don't remember if I talked about that already. But anyways, so they used to have a performing arts like concentration the kids could do at the camp. And so I was like, maybe I'll just go work at this camp in Indiana for a summer and be like an acting counselor, because I always thought that would be cool. Like the job that I had there in college was like more important than like a counselor job. But I was like, I just want to do acting, and that director already like knows me, and I left with a good like rapport and everything. So I thought maybe I can just go away for the summer, have a summer in the woods teaching acting to get that on my resume, and then like come back to California. That was my idea, because I was like, then I'll have a place to live. Like it doesn't pay a lot, but at least I'll live there. It would be cool to get out of LA for a little bit, because LA, I love it, but after a while you're kind of like, I think I was ready to just like have a different experience, have like an experience in nature or something. So I wrote the director. Fortunately, he did remember me. Unfortunately, he was like, we don't have a performing arts concentration anymore for the kids, so that there is no acting positions or anything. He's like, but we do have this open position that I think you would be great at. And it was actually very similar to the marketing internship that I had there before, but a little bit higher role with more people my age. Like the college kids are the ones that really are the counselors usually. But that's just like what I wanted to do. But I was like, okay, I guess trying to get a role there that pays more and is more for my level, I guess makes more sense. So basically, he started recruiting me then for like more of a director type of position. There's like 10 director positions there that like work together. And so it was a specific one of those called the host of camp. And it's like a large camp. I mean, they have like 400 new kids every week for the summer. It's pretty crazy. They have a huge camp in Michigan, and then they have their smaller camp in Indiana. But the Indiana one's the one I was like the most used to, that I really liked. So, I mean, I didn't like my job there. But I liked the people and I liked the camp. I didn't like the marketing internship. So thinking about another job there that was going to be similar to my marketing internship, but even more responsibility, I was kind of like, is this what I want to do? Like, this doesn't seem to be going in the direction of acting. And I'm going away from LA. But I literally like just didn't know. I just kind of was like, well, this is what's being offered to me right now. This is the door God is opening. I guess it's probably what I was supposed to take. And I remember like reading the job description, and it was like 3 pages long with all these terms and things I had never heard of. And I was just like, this sounds like the most stressful job ever, but I think I'm just going to go for it anyways. So that's what I did. I applied for that job. I ended up getting it, and I was like preparing to leave LA. And I remember feeling sad. Like I was excited to do something different, but I was also feeling sad. And I remember going to my last Leslie Scott class at Oasis Church, the free dance class. I went to my last class there before I moved. And at that class, something that was cool was we would have the dance class, but then at the end of it, Leslie would kind of lead us in like sort of like a prayer time or a discussion time, like a more spiritual time at the end of it, which I thought was really cool, where we could kind of share about our lives and stuff. So I remember like sharing that I was moving to Indiana for this camp job. And I remember I just ended up crying in front of all these people who I didn't even know that well, because I just felt sad. I remember being like, I feel like I came all the way to LA to accomplish this mission, like to be an actress. And I just felt like I failed. I'm like, I never became an actress. And now I'm just leaving without accomplishing the mission. And even though like I did make steps towards being an actress, and I was doing acting, I just hadn't like made it or whatever. And I felt sad about just like leaving. But I remember Leslie really encouraging me, and the class and the people encouraging me, and just saying that like, you don't know the whole picture of what God has for me or how he used me. He obviously used me while I was here. And like, it doesn't mean it wasn't worth it just because I didn't get a certain job by the end of it or whatever. Um, and it was really nice of them to say that. Something else that Leslie said to me, which I don't remember if this was on the day that was my last class or if it was one of the classes prior, but it was one of my last classes. I think it might have been that class. I remember she just looked at me really serious and was like, "Do you know what your issue is, Tracy?" Something like that. That sounds mean, but she said something like, "Do you know what your issue is?" And I was like, "What?" And I'm thinking that I can't dance. That I come to this class and I pretty much can only get like 2 counts of it. She was like, "No, your issue is you need to stand in the front." And I just thought that was so interesting because people that know me now would probably be like, "Tracy, you always stand in the front. You should like let other people stand in the front sometimes." But at the time, like I didn't stand in the front. I was scared and I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't want to be in the front and I would stand in the back. But I also couldn't really see back there. It was hard to learn from the back. And so that was kind of what she was pointing out. Like she was like, "You need to like stand in the front." And I was like, I don't know. That just like made a difference. Like obviously I still remember the fact that she said that and I think about it now and I like always try to stand in the front now. And I know teachers will, say move around the class and stuff and like halfway through the class they'll tell you to move around and which is great and it's good to learn. It is good to know how to pick up choreography from different parts in the room. But if you guys like knew where I came from where I never wanted to be in the front and now I'm just like I want to be in the front not because like I need to be seen or I need to be at the front of the video. It's just because I want to see. Like, I want to see the moves clearly and I want to understand it. And so it's better for me to be in the front. And maybe that's the case for everyone. So if I'm hogging the front, please tell me and like make me scoot over. But I just need to be able to see. And so when she encouraged me to do that, I took that seriously, even though I was like also leaving LA. But that just stuck with me. So yeah, so then I went to camp, and sorry, I'm looking at my notes because there's so many little things. Yeah, so at camp, which I thought was going to be like this awesome naturey experience, like getting out of the city of LA and like being in nature. What was so funny to me at camp was that like people were like less naturey at camp than they are in like LA. I feel like in LA, people want to go hiking, they want to be in nature. When I was at camp, I think because it was our job to be in nature, people love to just go back to their tree house. We lived in tree houses. They were like little cabins, but they were called the tree houses. And it's where like the group of 10 directors like spread out and lived. And it was basically just like these little cabins that had like this loft area where like we slept in these beds. And it was just really crazy. They were like in the trees, so it felt like a tree house, but it wasn't like you like climbed into a tree house. But it was very like tree house-ish. Anyways, but there were like TV. People had TV and everything. It wasn't like there was no electronics. So basically my point is people would be like watching TV and like binging shows on their times off. And I'm like, this is so weird. Why aren't we like going out in the camp? Like we're at camp. This is nature. Aren't we supposed to want to be in nature? And everybody's like, the second they have any free time, they're like watching TV. And I'm like, people don't even watch this Mitch TV in LA where they make TV. I just thought that was like very shocking and funny. So the only dance experience I really had at camp was I sometimes would watch these like YouTube dancer like workout things. I remember doing like being by my bed in the loft area of the treehouse and like watching these videos and like trying to do some of these like dance workouts, like getting my arms stronger for dance, like basically tutorials from like dancers about like how to get in shape for dance. And then we also played Dance Dance Revolution, which I don't think I'd ever played before. And maybe I had played it like once, but not much. Anyway, that was really fun. I very much enjoyed Dance Dance Revolution. It's been a while now, so I don't even remember like how you play that exactly. But I do remember playing that. But I did miss the fact that like I didn't have any actual dance classes I could take. So I was at the camp for the summer and then also the fall. You can stay for the fall because they do a lot of like special guest groups that come in the fall. And so I did stay for the fall, which was a whole nother crazy experience. I'll have to write about it at some point. And then after that, I didn't really have enough money to go back to LA yet. I didn't save enough money. And I also Wasn't even sure what I wanted to do. The camp is a type of place, that camp, you could work there full time if you wanted to. Like, you could apply and get a position there, and that could be your life. And I think I was trying to figure out if that was what I wanted to do, like, for my life or not. I don't know why it was so hard for me to figure that out, but I mean, like, I'm like, wasn't it kind of obvious that wasn't what I wanted to do? I feel like I did not really like that job. But I don't know. It was a confusing time in my life. So I didn't have enough money to go back to LA. So basically, I went back to Chicago to live with my mom and my stepdad again. And I'm like, how old was I? I was probably like around 28 or something, 28 or 29. And I was back at home with them looking for any type of like temporary job. I think I was actually trying to work at Starbucks again so I could just have something so that I could like save up money and then like maybe move back to LA or like figure out what I was doing. But for some reason the processing time with Starbucks with my application, like they hired me, but like there were some complications with like the paperwork where it was taking a really long time to the point where I was looking at any job. I was mostly looking at temporary jobs. I don't know how. I literally like lived in the suburbs, pretty far away from the city of Chicago. But the one job that seemed to open for me easily was this temporary job at this company called Threadless. It's a t-shirt company in Chicago where artists make their own designs for t-shirts and like submit them or something, and then they sell all these t-shirts. So it's a big like t-shirt warehouse. And I got a temp job as like basically a picker, like a t-shirt picker. This time in my life was so funny, and I actually kind of loved my job at Threadless. At first it was kind of stressful because you had to pick the t-shirts like so fast, and they're like not in order, and you have to like look at these sheets and like basically power walk through all of these aisles and like get all of these shirts. And it was an adrenaline rush. That 8 hours went by like so fast, and I would get such a workout from that. I thought it was pretty fun. There wasn't much time for talking. Like, you literally couldn't even like glance at another person while you were picking the shirts because like you had to meet a certain quota or like they weren't going to keep you. Like, basically it was a temp job, but I think they hired us all at like a very busy season, and there was like 40 of us. But then every week at the end of the week they'd say, okay, thanks for helping this week, we don't need you guys anymore after this. And then they would like email a bunch of us and go, okay, we still need you. So basically it was like Survivor. It was like every week they cut a bunch of people and like the better ones got to stay. So you kind of had to be like really good and like go really fast. And I was there for months. I kept thinking I was going to get cut because I was like not going fast enough, but I kept not getting cut. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm still here. And then you slowly kind of started building friendships because you would talk like at lunchtime. Or when you were like packing, you were either picking or packing. So when you're picking, you didn't really have time to talk. And you had to get good at like what the shirts looked like, because then you could find the color faster and like grab it. And then when you're packing, you could kind of talk because you're sitting at these tables packing them all in boxes. So I did start to make friends with people as like those of us that kept getting asked back over and over. And why was I saying this? Oh yeah. So while I was working at Threadless in Chicago and I was driving really far, I actually started to like pay less for gas because this older man that worked at Threadless lived like halfway between my house in Chicago and where Threadless was, and he was like, can I pay you to like start picking me up so I don't have to take the train or whatever. So that was interesting too. I had some interesting conversations with that guy. But so we would drive together. Anyway, it was like a whole thing, me working at this place. And again, it was another experience where I saw people who were artists who worked kind of this random job at a warehouse, but then they were like musicians or they were comedians. And again, I just like, I don't know, I always thought that was really cool that they could like do their art and then do this other job on the side. But while I was there, I was trying to save up money to go back to LA, but I still wanted to take a little bit of dance because, and I also think I took an acting class. I think I took an acting class at Second City in Chicago, which was interesting. It was actually called like dramatic improv or something. And so it was like this class where you would learn, because usually improv is considered comedic or like funny, when you go to an improv school anywhere, but this was a specific class where you would learn how to do improv in like a serious way where you're not trying to be funny, but actually the goal was still to be funny. It was just like you approach it with like you're telling a serious story, but then there will just be natural parts that are funny. And that was so much more interesting for me than the classes where you're like trying to be funny. I liked how it would just like happen by accident when you're really supposed to be doing like a serious scene. And I have some funny stories about that too. But anyways, we're talking about dance, not acting. So, I also wanted to take a little bit of dance while I was in Chicago because I was missing that while I was at camp. So I found Lou Conte Dance Studio in Chicago, which is associated with Hubbard Street. And that was a really good school. I don't remember if someone told me about it or I just found it somehow. But I was taking, I think I found a beginner hip hop class there that I was taking, and then maybe like a beginner jazz class, I think. Just watching my money, but like still taking a little bit of dance. And I remember, and I did take this sort of advanced hip hop class. Like I think it was just regular hip hop. It like wasn't beginner. But I just wanted to try it after taking the beginner for a bit. And I remember it was like way too hard for me. They taught us a dance to the song Click by Kanye West and Jay-Z. You should look that up because it's a good one. I don't really know if I think it's a good one. But anyways, the dance was cool and it was a cool song. And I really wanted to get it. I remember being there for round 1 for that one, and I was really struggling, but I was trying so hard to pick it up. And I remember that teacher, I don't remember who he was, but he did not want me there. I mean, it was very obvious. I think I might have asked a question and maybe I wasn't aware of like, I probably didn't have the perceptiveness of like if we should be asking questions or not. And I obviously wasn't picking up the choreography very fast, and I do not think he enjoyed me being there. But I really wanted to get it, and I remember just being like, I am going to go to his class again and get that dance because I was practicing it at home and I really wanted to get it better. So I did go for the round 2 class. I don't think I ever went back to his class after that because it was a little scary. He was a little scary, but I wanted to get that specific dance because I was like, I know I can get it. I've been practicing at home. So I did the second round, practiced more at home. I'm pretty sure I performed it for my mom and my stepdad because I like to perform dances for them and they would like video me. So I got it. I had it pretty good for me. Did I dance it amazing? Probably not, but like I got all the choreography. I felt good about it. And so I was making friends at Threadless, right? And so when I was there, like that week or like after I had gotten that dance down, I wanted to show it to one of my good friends at Threadless. And how it worked at Threadless was every time you finished like one of your pack lists, which could take like 30 minutes to an hour, you finish a certain section of your like picking of the shirts, you could go to this computer and like put in the next song you want to hear. So basically everybody would pick the music that we were picking shirts to, but you couldn't put in a song till after you like finished one section, and then you'd go back to picking and then you could pick like another song. So I went to the computer, picked the song Click by Kanye West because I told my friend when the song comes on, I'm going to do the dance for you. And I must have gotten pretty comfortable at Threadless because we were always trying to go super fast. You barely had time to say hi to someone when you were in the aisles trying to pick those t-shirts so fast. And here I am like, I'm going to play this song. You better run over. We better find each other. Or I think I might have said like, let's go to this aisle, or we had to like plan it out. So she would come to the right aisle and I was going to do the dance like in an aisle. And it was just so funny to me. So the song did come on. My friend, I don't remember her name, but we hung out like a couple of times and I liked her. We were very different people, but we enjoyed each other. Anyways, she came over to watch me do the dance. And I remember one of the like leads, like one of the manager type guys who was there was like walking by when I was doing that. And he was like this black guy. I don't know why I have to say that, but I'm dancing to a hip hop song and he was very like, he was like hip hop culture if you like saw him. So I think he was pretty like intrigued by the fact that like this tiny little like white girl who can only sort of dance is like dancing to this song. this like super hip hop song. And I remember him passing by the aisle, my friends watching me and like cheering me on, and like he stopped and like watched me do the whole dance. And I remember he like clapped for me at the end. He gave me a high five and was like, "That was awesome. That was so good." And I was like very proud of myself and very excited. So that was just one of the funny moments at Threadless with my dance experience. And then I was also taking like a beginner hip hop class at Lou Conte, which was a little more for me, my level. And I remember that hip hop teacher was actually a Christian because she ended up like sharing that. And she taught us, she didn't always use a Christian song, but one week she used a Christian song. It was something by Lecrae. I don't remember the song now. I just remember she literally shared like the whole message of Jesus one time at dance class because she was like, everybody has different faith, but I just want to tell you what this song is about so you understand where you're coming from when you do the dance. And then she basically shared like the message of Jesus and hope and everything, which I thought was kind of cool as a Christian myself, that she was like bold enough to like do that in her class. And I really liked that dance. I don't remember the dance now, but I remember really liking it. And I had learned that pretty well. And I remember that year I saw my brother for Christmas, like around Christmas time. It might have been on Christmas Day, actually. And if you know anything about my situation with my brother, I have not seen my brother in a very long time. I actually don't know how many years it's been. I've like kind of lost track. I mean, it's definitely over 10 years. I'm like, yeah, it's at least been 10 years. And so this is the last time I ever saw my brother, which I shouldn't say ever because hopefully I'll see him again at some point. But I saw him in Chicago for Christmas, and I wanted to show him that dance that I learned to Lecrae. And I remember, and my brother like loves hip hop, and he always thought it was cool that like I took dance or that I did acting. He was like my biggest fan. And so, yeah, I just remember him taking out his little camera or phone or something, and he videoed me while I did while we played the song and I did the dance, and he was so excited. I just remember him being like, "Tracy, that was so good. That was awesome." And so I really treasure that memory with him. Because there's been like a lot of hard things in between that, but sometimes like there's a lot of reasons why I dance, but sometimes I like think about my brother and I'm just like, maybe one day he's gonna like see my dancing now and maybe he'll like think it's really great. Like, I know it's not like that great, but like my brother thought I was great back then, and I've been taking like a lot more dance since then. So I just know that he would like it because he just always was excited for me doing stuff like that. And it's the kind of thing he likes. Like, he was always good at gymnastics, and I don't think he ever took dance classes, but he has a natural ability. I feel like he used to do like house dancing and teach me stuff, and like, yeah, so I just think about that. So anyway, that was kind of my Chicago dance experience. Looking back at my notes to see where we're at here. Oh, yeah. So then I was saving money. Actually, I like won Threadless Survivor. Like, it was literally down to like 3 of us that were still getting called back to work at Threadless, which I thought was so funny because I wasn't slow. Like, I was one of the faster ones, but they also checked your errors, and it also eventually got computerized. Initially, it was like literally like hard copies of paper we had to carry around when we were picking the shirts. But then it became these like armbands where you would like do it electronically, which I actually didn't like as much because then it was more organized where you would kind of be in the same aisle for a while. And I really missed like running like in a crazy maze between all the aisles and getting like a super workout. It was still a workout, but it was like a little bit different. And then all your errors were like calculated, and I was never like perfect. I had errors sometimes, and I was never like the absolute fastest, but I was like one of the faster ones. But I was still shocked that like I was always getting called back. And so there was like 3 of us left. But by that point, I didn't really know that I could have gotten completely hired by Threadless. I still thought that was just like a temp job. I still needed to figure out my life. I was still thinking about going back to LA, but I wasn't sure. So I didn't really know what to do, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just call up the camp and like go back there for like one more summer to save up the money that I need and to make sure I don't want to like work at camp forever. So I had kind of already like decided I was going to go back to, they did like hire me back for that next summer, and I'd already decided I was going to be there for that summer. So I had already told Threadless that I was like leaving on a certain date, but I remember like the top manager guy telling me like, "You did great, Tracy. Like we would have hired you, but I know you're like already like going back to camp, or you're going to work at camp or something." So yeah, so they didn't hire me on fully. They always called me back, but I actually ended up leaving on a certain day. And my two friends that got called back all the time with me, they got hired full time with Threadless. So I was happy for them because it was a really cool company and I enjoyed it. And they had other positions there besides just working in the warehouse. But I thought the warehouse job was like pretty fun. I don't know if I'd want to do something else besides that there. But so yeah, I went back to camp, and I think I'm going to have to tell this story in two parts, because this is supposed to be the episode where I talk about how I got like super committed to dancing in LA, but it's just kind of a long story. So I think I might kind of wrap it up shortly and then tell the second part next time, because it's just like there's just like so many details. Like, are you already confused? I'm like in California, then back in the Midwest, then back in California. Like, so many things have happened. But anyways, so yeah, so then I'm back at camp trying to figure out if this is what I want to do for my life, like work at camp forever, or if I want to go back to LA. There was a guy at camp who I actually had a little crush on for a bit, but that was kind of short-lived. But we were friends, and he was the creative like director person there who like put together all the plays, and he was a very good actor, and he liked all of that kind of performing arts stuff. So he actually really wanted to move to LA to do acting, and since I was already doing that or had done that, he was very like inspired by me and like really wanted to go back to LA, and kept saying that we were both going to go back to LA, or he's going to go to LA for the first time and I'm going to go back to LA to do acting, and we're both going to do this. And I kept being like, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to do it. Acting isn't as exciting as you think it is. It's just like a job, and you end up doing a bunch of other jobs you don't really like, because you can have flexibility for acting and auditions, and it's just like not necessarily like this great life or whatever. But I remember he was so excited about it, which made me kind of feel like it was exciting, even though like I knew the reality that it wasn't that exciting. But I remember us talking about it one time, and I was like, yeah, maybe I will go back to LA, but I don't know if maybe I won't even do acting this time. He was like, well, what are you going to do then? And I was like, maybe I'll like pursue dance. I remember saying that. Maybe I'll just do dance. And I remember his face got all weird, and he was like, dance? Like, that was like the weirdest thing to say. And then we both kind of laughed about it, because I wasn't really serious about it, but like I had always liked dance. Obviously, I kept trying to figure out a way to take dance classes, like not even knowing like why I was doing that exactly. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there and just say that in the next episode, you'll find out if I moved back to LA after camp or not. And yeah, and then after that, okay, I'm not going to tell you what all the episodes are going to be about, but there's a couple more episodes with my own dance journey, and then I'm going to start interviewing other dancers. So continue to think about if you want to be someone that gets interviewed. It won't be like 5 episodes long. It will just be one episode for you to tell your dance journey, and I'll have different questions and stuff. So anyways, thanks for listening. I hope you have a great day, and I will let you know when the next episode, part 2 of my getting into dance in LA, is ready. Bye.